All right, guys, welcome back to the Addictively Speaking podcast. I'm your host, James. Um, Tonight's episode, I wanted to talk about the opioid crisis that has been going on in America for I don't even know how long. I just wanted to talk about it because I've learned a few different things while living overseas, and I just thought it would be nice to talk about some of the differences and some of the things that you see. Um, Over here as opposed to over there, and how prescription drug addiction uh, in the United States is vastly different than it is in the United Kingdom. The drugs of choice for addiction over in the United Kingdom are benzos primarily. And in the United States, it is more opioid based. It's more, you know, fentanyl, um, oxycontin. So those type of drugs, and why that's so. Um, and these are just my personal beliefs. This is a little disclaimer. These are my thoughts, my personal beliefs, things that I've come up with in my head, not to be fact or fiction or whatever. I mean, I just things that I've read and things that I've seen. Um, I don't know how many people out there have watched Dopesick on Disney Plus, but I watched that and it was absolutely crazy how Purdue Pharma got away with, targeting middle class America with OxyContin by pushing it so heavily in middle class areas, hardworking Americans who were, coal miners, steel mills, people that had a lot of, injuries and pain. Um, so they prescribed this drug, knowing that it was highly addictive, and they lied and said that it wasn't as addictive as other opioids, which is a complete lie. They lied to the public, and they pushed it on the public for all kind of things. I mean, wisdom teeth taken out, like just stuff that you shouldn't be prescribed an opioid for. They were pushing these physicians to prescribe it, and you know, I- in in doing so, they created this epidemic, this pandemic of people who, you know, start off taking pain medication and then take it for an amount of time, and then they can't come off of it because with any opioid or any opiate derivative, you have withdrawal. Um, and they didn't they didn't sell that end of it, did they? They didn't come out and say, "Oh, well, this might be a bitch to come off of." I mean, and people were, going into withdrawal like they would if they were coming off heroin. You know, the same type of withdrawal, extreme muscle pain, aches in their bones. Um, yeah, terrible, terrible come down off of it. Um, so they didn't really sell that bit of it. Um, and I think you would expect the American government, the FDA, um, to enforce some type of rules and regulations on what's, you know, given to their general public, what's prescribed by doctors. Essentially, this epidemic turned doctors to drug dealers, you know, in a couple years. They created pill mills and all these things that you see, on these Netflix documentaries and all that kind of stuff. You see these doctors that, basically went into business for themselves. They saw the money that you can make from it, the fast money. I mean, um, it is one of those crazy things to think that a prescription medication is now worth what a dollar a milligram. So if you have a 40 milligram OxyContin, you can get $40 just like that. So if you have a prescription for 100 of them, you know, that's just do the math. I mean, you make staggering amounts of money very quickly. Doctor saw that and went into business and started pushing which exacerbated the addiction rates. And now these people are coming back to these doctors because it's the only place they can get that medication. And when they couldn't get any more prescriptions, they turned to a cheaper drug, similar effect, heroin. Now you have tons of heroin users. Um, so it's created this vicious cycle and this vicious circle of addiction, um, which in the end of it all, it didn't seem like anybody was really held accountable. I mean, the company that came up with it, um, you know, they could still produce it, it's still created, it's still available, you know? Like you've just created an absolute monstrosity of a drug that is destroying people all over the place. And, I think the family that created it, the Shacklers or whatever, got like a immunity. They paid $6 billion and got immunity from everything and anything. Let that sink in. Like they paid $6 billion and they have immunity, so they can't get charged with anything that comes any more lawsuits that come from um, the opioids that they prescribe people. They 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 nothing will come from it. So they paid that amount of money and now they're free to live their lives. Nobody went to jail. But if that was the shoe on the other foot, if that was the random street drug dealer that was selling cocaine to people, they would be in jail for forever for selling cocaine to people or heroin or etc. Any other drug, right? They would go to jail. They would spend a long, long time in jail. But because it is a pharmaceutical company, you just pay your way through and you basically, I mean, immunity, it says it all. It's like the big fuck you to everybody. We ruin millions of lives and here's $6 billion. Fuck off and leave us alone. I mean, that's crazy, you know? And now living in the UK, I've noticed a lot of huge differences when it comes to stuff like that. Like, because the US is based with insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies who have agendas who push them through our political systems, um, and our government is essentially, um, you know, big pharma has control over tons of stuff. Like when I go back to the States and I sit and I watch a television program, you're watching TV, count how many pharmaceutical ads there are. Count how many come across the TV screen, like within an hour or two. Um, and it'll be for tons of stuff. It'll be for heart medication or antidepressants, or is your cholesterol high? If so, ask your doctor about such and such. Why are these people telling you as a person to go ask your doctor about XYZ? Why? You're not a doctor. Why am I going to tell my doctor about something? My doctor should be telling me about the things that I should be doing to take care of myself, not the other way around. I shouldn't come in and say, I need to be on Libitro now. I meet all the criteria for Libitro. I want to try it. Why are you telling your doctor any of that? So, like, this is the insane bit of it all, is that, the pharmaceutical companies have you going to your doctor and asking them. You're a consumer. They're marketing to a consumer. You're consumers to drugs. So you basically, it's the pharmaceutical companies are your drug dealers. They're dealing you drugs, whatever it may be: heart medication, cholesterol medication, opioids, antidepressants, mood stabilizers, all of it. They're dealing you drugs legally, and if they do some shady shit, best believe that they'll pay $1 billion and get immunity. and continue being able to do shady shit. Um, and that's the terrifying bit, is that they've created this epidemic in the United States where people, you know, start off, using it, you know, recreationally, and end up becoming addicted to it, and then turn to heroin, and then, you know, what do they have to do? They have to try to come off it. They have to, get clean. And how do you do that? And a lot of it is high school kids, you know? A lot of it is high school kids. I was just reading some stuff before doing this, and it's like 1 in 4 high school kids will use OxyContin, no, or opioid derivatives in high school. So, like, these are, young kids that are getting turned on to it really early in life and becoming addicted to it, or turning to heroin at some point. So, you know, these are things that are are happening all the time, in middle America, in these small towns. I mean, even in the town I grew up in. Um, just as to add on to this, is that there was a doctor that everybody knew that you could go to and get a prescription for he would give you you get a prescription for anything. He would give you a prescription for anything. You told him you had, headaches all the time, he'd give you a prescription for whatever you wanted. You told him, well, he was your one-stop shop. You just go there. People knew him. Everybody around town talked about him. You could just go there, and he would just, give you what you needed. So that's the type of things that this is what we've created, you know. This is what our pharmaceutical companies have created for people. They've created a consumer-based system that where you are going to your doctor and you are telling your doctor, I would like such and such. And then your doctor will give you such and such prescription for 30 pills. So that's like one of the huge differences between the UK and the United States, is that there are no adverts for drugs, pharmaceutical drugs. They don't exist over here. You don't see them on the television. They're not asking you to go to your doctor and ask for, you know, this drug by name. Um, you go to the doctor, and the doctor then tells you what he thinks you should be on. And as far as like pain management and things like of that nature, they always avoid, I think to the best of my knowledge, they try to avoid using opioids and heavy, you know, opioid derivative type drugs. I talked to some people over here about like fentanyl and stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's for like palliative care. That's for people who are dying, to make them comfortable." And in America, I mean, my mother, who had rheumatoid arthritis, was on fentanyl patches, 120 micrograms, and what, fentanyl is 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine, but because it's in a patch and it's time released, it's, you know, you can just prescribe it to people. I mean, obviously she lived with a lot of pain, but still, I mean, they're using it for end of life care, and we're using it for pain management. You know, that's the difference, is that they're using it to keep people comfortable, and we're using it to manage people's pain when they're probably less addictive drugs that you could be giving people. I mean, over here, you hurt yourself, or they'll prescribe you like an anti-inflammatory, and that's about as, that's about as intense as it gets. I mean, you're not even getting Percocet or Vicodin, you're getting like cocodamol, or paracetamol, and some other bits. Like, you're not getting, I remember, I think, getting my wisdom teeth out, and they're prescribing Tylenol with codeine, or you get Percocet, or you get Vicodin or something like that, which are, opioid derived drugs. And I was 15 when I had my wisdom teeth out. So, you know, pretty heavy shit to be prescribing 15-year-old, um, which I think is a slippery slope, that America is in, is that, you know, we're trusting doctors to prescribe these medications, um, with the best knowledge that they have, but they're also being pressured and, um, you know, I don't want to say like they're pressured to promote these things by the pharmaceutical companies to push their product. I mean, because these pharmaceutical companies are trying to make, billions a year, um, on America's pain. So, in order to do that, they have to, get these doctors to prescribe, 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 prescribe. So, once they start doing that, what happens? What's the aftermath? I mean, you see these places that have been ravaged by it, West Virginia, go to Philly and Kensington and stuff like that. I mean, they're like people are zombies walking around. They're like the Walking Dead. And these people are, probably started out, you know, taking a pill or two, and now they're on heroin or they're on this or they're on that. Um, so these companies, these pharmaceutical companies created this, and they've paid to get immunity, and they haven't done anything to help clean it up. They haven't opened any rehab centers. They haven't helped with recovery groups. They haven't, you know, they haven't done anything to clean up their mess. They're just letting it, fester, and more people will continue to have this happen over and over and over again. They didn't take the product off. They haven't removed the product. Obviously, I imagine there's more stricter, you know, prescribing laws, but still, it's still available, still out there. So if it's available, I mean, what are the people going to do? You're going to find it, get a prescription for it. People will sell it. I mean, it's easy to make money off pills. Back when I was drinking heavily, and I was in that, my mom was a rheumatoid arthritis. She had Percocet just laying around the house, like bottles of it, because she didn't take it as prescribed. Um, so yeah, being a shitty person that I was going through my shit, I was taking like 10 or 12 of those pills, and I was making, a couple $100, like in 15 minutes. I mean, it was very easy money. And there were tons of people that were, yeah, well, you got some perks, you got perk 20s. They were gone as fast as I could get them. And my mom had prescription, like repeat prescriptions. She'd just get them whenever. So if she saw that they were low, she'd just go to the doctor, and they'd fill the prescription and go to the pharmacy, fill the prescription, and I could just, you know, take a couple here, take a couple there, till I got like 10 or 20 and make a ton of money off of it. It's very simple to do so. Um, but like, you know, it's crazy that we've turned doctors to drug dealers, you know, in that instant. Once you overprescribe, or you start a pill mill, or you start pushing it onto people who don't necessarily need it, um, they're a drug dealer. You become a drug dealer. You're just as bad as the guy who sold so and so heroin or cocaine or whatever. Essentially, your morals, the oath you took to become a doctor is out the window. You've given that up now, and now you're just a drug dealer who's out to make money and not care about the people's lives that you've affected. Because now you're, you know, potentially, killing someone at some point. I mean, eventually, right? I mean, anybody who messes around with opioids long enough, you know, ends up either getting a bad batch, or, potential overdoses huge, because they're chasing that high that they got the first time that they took it. Um, so it's a very slippery slope. But I wish I had somebody to go back and forth, like a co-host, to talk to about this, because I think it's interesting, the differences between the United States and the UK, as far as how their systems are based and their healthcare systems. Now, over here, we have free healthcare, right? If I need to go to the doctor, I go to the doctor. Um, If I'm unwell, they prescribe me medication. I go to the pharmacy, and for £9, I can get any prescription I want. Whatever they prescribe me, I can get for £9. And in the United States, is just a different system. It's just um, really strange how the United States differs from, I mean, most other countries that have free healthcare. I mean, United States is definitely lacking in that department, and they won't change their ways because obviously because there's interests at hand. There's people profiting, and in order for those people to profit, those things need to stay in place. So, in order for the pharmaceutical companies to profit, insurance companies need to stay in place. Insurance companies need to profit, so they will be the providers of healthcare. They will provide the healthcare, and then the providers of healthcare will prescribe the pharmaceutical company's interest, right? So in America, good luck trying to change that system because it generates billions of dollars a year. And it goes into campaign funds for presidents, senators, and representatives. It goes everywhere. I mean, that money goes to people, in power, FDA, you know, all those places, they get money off this. There's kickbacks, there's people getting money because it generates such a huge amount of revenue. So it is, how do you clean up that mess? How do you fix that? Because Purdue Pharma, who created OxyContin, they're not cleaning up that mess. They're not doing anything to fix that. They're not opening rehab centers or, you know, taking care of the people that they destroyed. They're not in West Virginia, opening up rehabs for the people's lives that they destroyed. They're not paying the people whose lives were lost. They're not compensating those people for the loss of life on a massive scale. They're not doing anything to fix that. They've got their immunity, they've got their money, and they don't give a shit about what they did, which is a shame because, yeah, people lose their lives over that every day. And all they did was go to a doctor and get prescribed some medication and then ended up becoming a heroin addict at the end of it all. They ended up becoming a heroin addict and, dying of an OD because they went to a doctor and got prescribed something for the pain that they had, which is crazy. So I guess in the end, I would say that I'm happy to be in the UK where the healthcare is provided for me, and I go to the doctor and the doctor tells me what I should be taking, prescribes me something that isn't going to potentially cause me harm, cause me addiction. Um, obviously, there are prescription drugs over here that get abused, but it's not at the same level. The opioids are not at the same level. Methamphetamine's not at the same level over here. There are just drugs that aren't at the same height as they are in the United States of America, especially like prescription drugs. So it is crazy, but I think America needs to step back and take a look at the pharmaceutical companies that are prescribing this poison to people and pushing it on people and turning, they turn everybody into a consumer. You're all being marketed to, you're all being, told to go out and ask your doctor for such and such. So the next time you see an advert on the television that tells you to go to your doctor and ask for whatever the fuck it is, don't do it because the outcome, you know, you could end up being another statistic at the end of the day. You could be on the other end, you know, you could be the one needing the Narcan because you went to your doctor and asked for whatever the fuck it is. So, yeah, man, I just thought that this was a huge topic that needed to be discussed. And I think a lot of people out there, that do suffer with addiction from, prescription medication and then turn to heroin and stuff like that. I think that's a, a terrible thing because it all started with a pill that should have been prescribed to you by a doctor, but it's all gotten so far out of control that, you know, it's spiraled into something other than what it was ever intended to be. And then the people who are responsible for it are laughing their asses off in $1 million mansions, doing no jail time, you know, living their best life while people are, you know, dead in the street or being brought back to life by Narcan because of OxyContin and other drugs like it and fentanyl and all that kind of stuff. It's killing people all over the world. It's crazy shit. And I think, they want to fight these war on drugs. They want to fight cocaine and heroin and this and that. Maybe take a look at the pharmaceutical companies that are pushing this shit as well. Don't just worry about the cocaine and the heroin. Maybe worry about the stuff that you're creating in a laboratory and you're pushing out to people on the streets. The synthetics, the derivatives, the opioid-like drugs that you hand out to people who are 15 years old or 14 years old. And they end up becoming addicted and spending the rest of their life trying to put their lives back together because a fucking pill ruined everything. So on that note, I'm going to end it there. I'd just like to say, if there's anybody out there who's suffering from drug addiction and alcohol addiction, if you're thinking about getting help, reach out, find your local NA or AA chapter, reach out for help, talk to your family, talk to your friends. Don't let it go on so far that, you end up a statistic, you end up dead, or in jail, or, any of the horrible outcomes that happens from drug addiction and alcohol addiction. You can make a better life. You can have the things you don't think are possible at that moment. You just need to reach out, get some help, and look towards a brighter future because it's out there, it's available, and there are tons of people out there who have survived and made great lives and who are also willing to help you. You just have to reach out and look for that help wherever it is, in your area or around you. Look for the people who love you and support you, because they will help you and guide you through the next steps. So with that being said, find us on Spotify, Addictively Speaking Podcast. You can find us on YouTube at Addictively Speaking Podcast. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, my personal page as well. So just find us and continue listening. And I appreciate you. Like, subscribe, and share.
Yeah. Me and my boys going crazy in 23. Like MJ, but we ain't never gonna fade away. We ain't never gonna fade away. Me and my boys going crazy in 23. Like MJ, but we ain't never gonna fade away. We ain't never gonna fade away. Me and my boys going crazy in 23. Like MJ, but we ain't never gonna fade away. We ain't never gonna fade away. Oh no, oh no. Me and my boys going crazy in 23. Like MJ, yeah. We ain't never gonna fade away. We ain't never gonna fade away. Oh no, oh no, me and my boys going crazy in 23. Yeah, like MJ, but we ain't never gonna fade away. We ain't never gonna fade away. Oh no. my boys going crazy in 23. Yeah, like MJ, but we ain't never gonna fade away. We ain't never gonna fade away. Oh no, oh no. Me and my boys going crazy in 23. Like MJ, but we ain't never gonna fade away.